Good evening. This is Maestro with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a best of 3 series from Season 7 of the Elite League. Our first player is going to be Val.Hero, otherwise known as Dark-Hero, playing as the Farseer, Eldar support, spellcasting, and buffing commander. His opponent is going to be Kickin, playing as the Lictor Alpha, infiltrating a melee assassin hero with displacement. Of course, you know by now, Elite League Season 7 is actually long over, and I'm just casting these replays after the fact when I actually have some time to do so. Val.Hero, definitely one of my favorites among, well, the current group of players who play this game. At this point, he's been playing for years, and he's really, really good at the game. Kickin is someone who I typically think of as a little bit more old school. He's someone that, back when I actually played this game, Kickin was someone who I played with and against at times. Also very, very good player. And our matchup right here between the Eldar and the Lictor Alpha. I say the Lictor Alpha because the Lictor Alpha, at this point, you're seeing the Lictor Alpha regularly in cast. We see him here again. Truth is, the Lictor Alpha has been a common 1v1 presence literally going back a decade ago. In my opinion, there are just things that are so inherently strong about this hero that make him to a decade later, even with, balance changes every other patch, or literally every patch, he is a stable presence in 1v1 games. The fact that he is an infiltrating commander forces some kind of detection purchase out of your opponent at the start, which Val.Hero still actually hasn't gotten yet. So it either forces a detection purchase, or you're very much at the mercy of the Lictor Alpha. Flesh Hook is an incredibly powerful ability, especially given that it's baseline. I think it's such a powerful ability that even if you needed to get a war gear to buy it, I think you would still see it a lot. And the fact that he's a melee commander with high damage, again, who can infiltrate, can often tie up range units, get in on them pretty easily, including setup teams. So yeah, all those things I think just really contribute to the Lictor Alpha being a very common presence. Farseer right here, going to be upgrading to get the... No, canceled! I think was upgrading to get... I think that was the Ghost Helm right before it was canceled. Instead, going to go for the Armor of Fortune now. Canceled the Ghost Helm, I believe, to get the Armor of Fortune. Only saw... Whatever upgrade was right before the Armor of Fortune was... I only saw it for like a split second before it was canceled. And I think Val.Hero does have a very interesting approach to dealing with the Lictor Alpha. He's gone for this double Banshee build, which this is something that you see more specifically with the Farseer, because she can get the area of effect heal from the Spirit Stones. We don't actually see that yet, if at all. But that's often a reason why double Banshee is a little bit more common with the Farseer. And I think it's also an idea for dealing with the Lictor Alpha, because double Banshee is something that the Lictor Alpha could be very, very scared of. Banshees can do very, very well in certainly a one-on-one fight against the Lictor Alpha. They might lose a model tour in the process, but they also threaten the possibility of incapacitating the Lictor Alpha entirely. No upgrades on either of the Banshees or the Guardians, only the upgrade on the Farseer with the Armor of Fortune. Otherwise, looks like he's waiting for his Tier 1.5 unit upgrade or purchase. Or, yes. Armor of Fortune does seem like an interesting one, especially to get it at this particular time. Now, the Banshees are mostly moving around without the Farseer. I would think with this setup, with the Armor of Fortune, ideally you want to use that Armor of Fortune more so on the Banshees. You can use it on the Guardians, but I think the higher value is to use it on the Banshees. And I would think you would actually want one squad of Banshees with the Farseer so that they can take advantage of that. Meanwhile, the Lictor Alpha having trouble here all by himself, getting focused down by the Guardians, while at the same time being hit in the back by the Farseer. Farseer can put Guide on the Guardians to make them do more damage. Farseer herself right now under a little bit of threat, moving back, now moving back in. Guardians moving away, though. I'm actually not entirely sure why. Maybe they just don't feel... Oh, I guess they wanted to move away from the potential Ravener Burrow. Only one model will get knocked over. There was a grenade voice line, but no grenade is thrown. Now a grenade is thrown. I think probably his intention was to try to throw the grenade when the Raveners burrowed in. I wonder if it was actually interrupted. My God, nearly loses the Guardians, and I think that special attack might even been what saved them. There are still 3 models, but the health is so low. I think there's a chance, actually, that they make it out of there even without that special attack from the Farseer, but I think they would have gone down to, like, 1 model if that had happened. Raveners want to get out of here. They're going for the decap. How much is it worth it? Are you willing to pay a model when you might lose... Pay a model just for that decap? Hasn't lost a model yet, which I think is pretty lucky, but I feel like one still has the chance to go down. Val.Hero does continue to go for it. He does get 1. Can he get 2? One last Howling Banshee slash goes in on that last Ravener model, but they get out of there with 2 models. So Val.Hero gonna go. He does get full upgrades now on his Banshees. The double aspect of fleetness is interesting and at the same time not entirely unexpected, considering we are against Tyranids. The need for that heavy melee from the aspect of strength not going to be as needed here, given that there are technically no vehicles for Tyranids in Tier 2. Only the Tyrant Guard is the vehicle stand-in, and the aspect of fleetness is arguably better against a Tyrant Guard than the aspect of strength. Meanwhile, we've got an upgrade for the Lictor Alpha, Toxin Miasma. I feel that all of the weapon upgrades for the Lictor Alpha are quite strong. They all do a lot of damage. They often have good other effects. In this case, yeah, I mean, the Lictor Alpha, I'm not surprised there that the Lictor Alpha wins out. Oh, actually, not at all. The Lictor Alpha, sorry, the Farseer doesn't even have an upgraded weapon, so she absolutely stood no chance against the Lictor Alpha. She had an upgrade, she had an armor upgrade, which meant she had more health than the Lictor Alpha, but this upgraded weapon against the default weapon of the Farseer, it was just a complete outclassing. 65 melee DPS along with damage over time, and you reduce the speed and damage of the infantry units that you attack. The Lictor Alpha in general is often a very good duelist, especially against melee commanders, especially against commanders that are not really like full-on melee combatants. Like, I'm trying to think of who would beat the Lictor Alpha. Probably an upgraded Chaos Lord with something like the Lightning Claws would. But a Farseer with an unupgraded weapon doesn't have a chance. Runes of Reaping. No Spirit Stones in the end. That is rather interesting. These Runes of Reaping going to reduce the cooldown of the Farseer's spells and increase her energy regeneration. Doesn't give an ability whatsoever, just going to support her to use Fortune as well as Levitation Field more often. Levitation Field is often a rather interesting war gear. Can work well as a melee counter. Unit approaches you, use that Levitation Field, but it does also immobilize the Farseer, which is kind of one of the concerns of the ability. Where is this Lictor Alpha going? Probably looking for something. I think one of the issues, part of why we see the double Banshee is that it does create rather unattractive targets for the Lictor Alpha. The Lictor Alpha can, though, still flesh hook the Banshee models, especially the Banshee XR can potentially kill her like that. In this case, going to use the flesh hook on the Farseer, but the Banshees are right here, and the Levitation Field, right. More so than just a counter against melee squads. That's going to be great against the Lictor Alpha. Lictor Alpha is knocked down. That could be a kill in the Lictor Alpha, and indeed it is. I actually like that answer to the Lictor Alpha a lot. Most of the damage actually took place after the Lictor Alpha, after basically the whole Levitation Field animation finished. Fortune used there to empower the Banshees. They now have 30% damage resistance while in this fight. But yeah, the Lictor Alpha taken out of that fight, and then he's knocked down on the ground, and then that time when he's down on the ground makes him incredibly vulnerable to the Banshees. Because the Lictor Alpha has many strengths, but tankiness is, well, I'm a little hesitant to say tankiness is not one of them. His tankiness certainly doesn't come in the form of a sheer amount of hit points. At only 661 without any kind of armor upgrade. So when the Lictor Alpha is knocked down on the ground as just defenseless like that, the Banshees will tear through him in seconds like they did. Lictor Alpha needed to be repurchased. We're going to see a Wraith Lord come out for Val.Hero. There's another use of the Levitation Field. This time, not a whole lot of follow-up, especially the Guardians are not actually even focusing on the Lictor Alpha, and they're only at 3 models. Farseer needs to get out of here before she does manage to die. Yeah, good. Manages to retreat just in time. Wraithlord's going to come out. I would expect a Shuriken Cannon upgrade on this one. Certainly right now, against what Kickin has, and against, I'd say, against a Tier 2 Tyranid player in general, the Shuriken Cannon, I think, would get far, far more value. No real reason to get a Bright Lance yet. If he does want to not get the Bright Lance just for the sake of flexibility, in case something... Yeah, Shuriken Cannon is there. Just the Shuriken Cannon DPS on this is really, really nice. Great against infantry on a vehicle platform that is more or less invulnerable to all of the units that are currently against it right now. Yeah, the damage on that is just going to really do a good job of whittling down. The Raveners already at the point where they're risking losing a model by not retreating. 46.67 piercing DPS. I mean, that's about Attack Squad, slightly better. But again, part of what is so strong about this is that it is on this vehicle platform. You know, normally I say it's about TAC DPS, but TAC DPS is TACs are going to trade in a fight against other infantry units, and then they get to a point where they might lose a model. This doesn't. Very powerful, similar to the way an Assault Cannon Dread would be. Of course, normally the meta for Eldar is more focused on Falcon play, which can often do a lot of the same things. The Falcon weapons. Oh god, so many models taken down on those Hormigons. We're going to see a grenade, I think, an attempt to wipe. There's the grenade. Is it too early? No, it's right on time. It's perfect. My god. And that is going to be the wipe on those Hormigons, or rather, really went down a dark alley that they never came out of. Well played by Val.Hero. Farseer going to tank some damage right here from the Raveners, but manages to finish the cap. Need to retreat this Farseer before she loses all her health. No Spirit Stones to heal her up, and Dark.Hero realizes, or Val.Hero realizes just in time. Wait a minute. Oh, man. I'm actually tripping. I actually called Kickin a Tier 2 Tyranids, and he's actually not even... He wasn't even Tier 2 Tyranids. He's only getting to Tier 2 just now. If anything, I almost feel like Dark.Hero should be commanding this game quite a lot harder. Probably should have moved over this Wraithlord over to the generator farm and just killed this entire thing, along with some other units. Going to get Fire Dragons out now. Now, normally I talk about how experienced players have a good idea of kind of where their opponent is. This is actually one situation where it seems like to me Dark.Hero actually doesn't really know just how ahead he was of Kickin and how much more oppressive he could have been. Little uncharacteristic, but again, you know, I have the luxury of just being able to see everything from a bird's eye view and have all the information. He doesn't, especially when you're in the heat of the moment. Sometimes those details can be a little hard to grasp. Webway gate placed here. We've got a little bit of a network here, small network, 3 webway gates on the field. Infiltration, and oh, there is detection. But nevertheless, this blob that's approaching for Dark.Hero is also just very, very threatening. Meanwhile, the Wraithlord... I was going to say, Wraithlord's going to guard this point. No, because the Lictor Alpha is going to be infiltrated, so he can't really stop that. But where are the Banshees? Banshees? Okay, I like this. I was going to say I didn't understand why he's not, like, pressing his advantage to destroy the generators with the Banshees. He's waiting for the Fire Dragons, which can actually do it both faster and more safely, while also not giving up all their models if basically this blob approaches. But Kickin just having trouble getting out of his base. He does have one Venom Brood to start making this Wraithlord play with a little bit of respect, but the heals are going to come in, which is going to significantly... Oh, this is a little bit too aggressive. Probably looking for a big levitation field there, but the Farseer was focused down before that could happen. Nevertheless, this is still absolutely a win for Dark.Hero. Full generator bash. Now he's just creating space to buy time. Only problem with buying time is that he is losing the victory points in the process, or is he? Kickin not actually starting the capture on this victory point, so victory point is continuing to tick down in favor of Val.Hero when they shouldn't be. Still, it's a lot of time when Kickin is not getting his generator farm back. In fact, it's getting capped against him. And this is something that can really just tighten the noose for Val.Hero against Kickin, as we see a massive economic advantage for Val.Hero at this point. He's teching to Tier 3. He's got plenty of resources stored up as well. Once he gets to Tier 3, probably won't be too far off from getting some kind of tier 3 unit. But the Lictor Alpha going down is a huge problem for Kickin. He has horrible income, both in terms of power and requisition. He can barely afford, I was going to say, to buy back that Lictor Alpha, so he concedes right there. And I'm not surprised, you know, where he was going. Val.Hero's at the point where as soon as he gets to tier 3, he's probably pretty close to a Fire Prism. And if he can micro the Fire Prism, I think there's literally nothing that Kickin can do about that. So he throws in the towel on that game 1. But we move on to game number 2. Game number 2 will take place on Vulcan Pits. Val.Hero going to be switching over to the Force Commander. Tanky, Space Marine melee hero, buffs with Battle Cry and disrupts with Battle Cry. And his opponent, Kickin, going to be switching over to the Eldar himself, playing as the Warlock. Melee hero, can become a spellcaster or a tank, depending on your war gear choices. So then, game 2 here, Vulcan Pits. I have a personal reason, actually, for not liking this map. There's just something about the way this map is designed where when you try to zoom in, you can't get as clear of a picture of things as you can on other maps. I'll try to show it. See, the way they kind of cut off right there? It's rather annoying, especially for when I try to take screenshots for my thumbnails. Map itself, though, this is probably also a map where people have complaints about pathing issues. I do believe it is it's definitely not a stock map that comes with Retribution. Of course, it looks fantastic, like visually, it looks fantastic. But sometimes I think people are concerned about some of the user-created maps having certain imperfections that can potentially interfere with gameplay, and by that I mean cause you to have pathing issues with your vehicles that cause them to get killed. But I wouldn't know anything about that. I don't know if I've ever actually played on this map. Anyway, Howling Banshee's going to get into melee here. Special attack by the Warlock, though, knocks down the Tactical Marines. Special attacks from the Force Commander coming in. He wants the Battle Cry buff on the Tactical Marines to try to help him stay in here against the Banshees, but this is a pretty dangerous game. Loses 1 tac model, loses 2. Is he going to lose the entire squad? My god, he is. Yeah, that was a super dangerous game. I don't like that choice there by Val.Hero. He was hoping that between the Battle Cry knockback from the Force Commander, crowd controlling the Banshees, and giving the damage buff to the Tactical Marines, that he could stay in that melee fight. But just the incredible damage of the Banshees against power armor combined with their own specials, it was incredibly risky, and we see a tac squad wiped in like less than a minute, maybe a minute, whatever. This is going to leave Val.Hero with a triple scout build, which, you know, for all we know, there are times when he probably runs this exact build intentionally. Sniper Scout upgraded already. That is such a fast upgrade. Second one coming in already as well. My god, such fast Sniper Scout upgrades. I mean, each one of these is 25 power, and we really need to think, my god, just like, that's going to delay any... I was going to say delay a potential tier 1.5 unit, but at this point, I think it's more likely that we're not going to see a tier 1.5 unit. I think this is triple scout into tier 2. Like, already so much invested by Val.Hero, and he's also really coming on such a back foot, but I guess he probably also knows what Kickin is up to, because we're going to see the sniper duels, double Rangers out of Kickin. Historically, I think it's generally seen as Eldar kind of have the better end of this. Right now, the way things work, I believe the Rangers actually do less damage per shot than the Scouts, but fire more often, which I think actually technically is how it always worked. But the Rangers, of course, also have the advantage of infiltration.
The enemy is destroying a key structure.
They will infiltrate. And the Scouts right now don't have that unless they upgrade to it. But man, I mean, just investing in the sniper rifle itself is already so expensive. So this is already a pretty spicy game. Grenade going in, repairs going in on the node with this Scout squad. That's a pretty nice play there because it delays the Banshees from taking the power node, from taking it out. And in the meanwhile, they lose models in the process. So it becomes almost like not worth it for them to stay in there to take down the power node because they just lose a bunch of models in the process. Possibly not even take out the node.
Moving through cover. Scouts under attack.
Sniper Wars going out. One shot goes in from this scout squad before they retreat. Two shots going in this one. Doesn't lose a model, but they do have to retreat. This is already looking pretty scary for Dark.Hero, especially given that he lost that Tactical Marine squad. Although at the same time, I also feel that Tactical Marine squad would have very much been at the mercy of everything we already see from Kickin out here. Meanwhile, the Guardian weapon team is going to come out. And this is pretty tricky for Dark.Hero. Did invest in a full power farm. He's not getting Assault Marines anytime soon, so it's also going to be really difficult for him to deal with this. The Force Commander moves forward. This is already looking so bad for Dark.Hero. He's walking out, then retreating really soon. Grenade attempted to be used against the Banshees is unsuccessful, and the Scouts end up retreating at full hit points just because they can't possibly win against the Banshees. Double cap for Kickin. Not a single victory point has ticked in favor of Dark.Hero. And we're going to see a Warlock idling right here. I mean, otherwise, of course, Kickin is right now kicking a little ass. But this Warlock is kind of dropping the micro there. Oppressive pressure put over here. One of these Rangers, super lucky, though. 3 models, less than 33% of its hit points, and is actually going to stay in here. Iron Halo for the Force Commander. Upgrades on the Force Commander. Armor of Alacrity with the Iron Halo. This is not usually that common of a combination, in part because these two warriors have a little bit of anti-synergy with each other. That mainly being that sprint is going to cost energy, and normally if you're getting the Iron Halo, then you want the energy for the energy shield. You still get a passive speed increase, which is not bad, but typically when you go the Iron Halo, you usually go the Artificer armor. Artificer doesn't give you any mobility like the way the Armor of Alacrity does, but it has better synergy because you're giving more energy for the Iron Halo. Typically, when you go for the Iron Halo, you want straight-up tankiness.
Support structure complete.
So Dark.Hero does at least manage to retake his natural victory point, looking to start getting a double cap in his favor. Force Commander is being shot at by the Rangers, but the Iron Halo does make it so that he should at least be able to get this full cap. Rangers actually seem like they're not really bothering. Okay, they're moving in to actually get vision again, so they can shoot him again. We see the toggle on and off on the... Oh, but he doesn't have the Iron Halo at the right time. He can't finish capturing that point. Very, very smart play by Kickin. Dark.Hero was trying to toggle the Iron Halo on and off so that he can regenerate the energy of the Iron Halo and then just try to turn it on when he actually thinks he's going to take damage. But because he had deactivated, he was vulnerable to the knockback from the kinetic pulse of the Rangers, and that prevented him from actually finishing the point. And then once he was knocked down, he couldn't afford to stay any longer. Destructor goes in, actually does not get a very clean hit. We're going to see some infiltration on the Sniper Scouts as well. Meanwhile, the Bolter Scout squad is going to be forced off. So this build from Dark.Hero, we see right now he's definitely not winning this game. Of course, losing the tax is definitely part of why he's probably not winning this game at this very moment. But this triple Sniper Scout build, or triple Scout build, it's definitely... It's not the most well-rounded build. You have overall a rather lack of DPS, and you might think, oh, but the Scouts, don't they do a lot of damage? In terms of the raw DPS number, it's actually quite low. They're a long-range burst damage unit, but their DPS is low. Okay, we see that burst damage taking the Guardians down to 60% of their hit points. But they need to move back, cycle up their next shots. They're going to go for another shot on the Warlock. We see, again, like big chunks taken out of that health. But, of course, they're going to have a long cooldown or reload. There are all these different statistics and mechanics for the way that units cycle between shots. There's a reload, there's a cooldown. For some of them, for some weapons, there's a wind-up. And all of that factors into how long, basically how much of a delay there is between a unit firing. And of course, it also varies a lot between, you know, units like scouts, which will actually just fire like a single shot, compared to other units like, say, tactical marines, which will fire several shots. Anyway, one of those ranger squads is going to be forced off, actually is taken down to one of their models. Force Commander is alone right here. Will activate Iron Halo, but that Iron Halo energy shield... You know, I could be actually tripping here. I could have sworn that at some point the Iron Halo did provide knockback immunity. Maybe I'm out of touch. Because there it certainly looked like he got knocked back even with the Iron Halo ability active. And of course, you know, this is one of those things where, just to make sure, I will probably fact check this before this video goes live and make a comment about it. Just because I know sometimes you can get, as a commentator, I can get ripped apart for any one mistake that I make. Alright, but, man, I don't know. Talking about mistakes, Val.Hero may be paying for his down over, well, not over. Hold on. Okay, now he's down over 300 victory points. Into the Dreadnought, my god, what a play here. Yeah, this is... I mean, Dark Hero is known for, he just likes to do things for the sake of doing them. He likes to be, we say he likes to be experimental. He likes variety. He likes to try different things. Triple Scout into the Dreadnought. I mean, there's definitely an idea behind it. When you have Triple Scout, you have plenty of repair support. I'm just concerned about his map control, which is already lacking. Technically, Triple Scout's also supposed to give you map control, but when your opponent has more units than you have scouts, and all you have are scouts, then it doesn't always convert into map control, and we see that he doesn't have it. That was a pretty nice play against the Banshees. The Emperor's Fist did actually result in some models being taken down, but the Force Commander was lost before that. We're now going to see the Thunderhammer, and this is also something where I'm actually not no longer. I was never actually that sold on the Iron Halo purchase, especially now because we have the Thunderhammer. Big part of the point of the Thunderhammer is to use battle cries, so you get the area of effect. Not just area of effect, but circular disruption, because technically, even the regular specials with the other weapons are area of effect, but the Thunderhammer is a circular area, and it will, I believe it also tracks, which means that if the windup starts, it will hit a unit that it was supposed to, that it was going to hit, whereas otherwise sometimes specials can actually be dodged. But between Battle Cry and Sprint, if he's even using Sprint, that really doesn't leave a lot of energy to actually get value out of the Iron Halo. And we see it sometimes he's using it intermittently, but it's definitely not full value out of the Iron Halo at this point. And I mean, there was probably, like, he got the Iron Halo probably earlier to make things a little bit easier dealing with the snipers. But at this point, the Iron Halo is definitely seeming a little questionable. Meanwhile, Fire Prism, not even a Falcon. This is a Fire Prism out for Kickin. He straight up skipped Tier 2, went to Tier 3. This is, God, like in my opinion, this is game. Dark Hero can't do anything about this Fire Prism. He really can't do anything. Like, it almost hurts to say that, like he could switch over to the Power Fist and the Teleporter Pack. Even that's not quite great. But he already invested so much in the Thunderhammer and the Iron Halo. Devastator Marines is actually the more sensible choice, especially with where he is right now. But Seer Council are going to make it incredibly hard for Devastator Marines to ever get more than one shot off. I guess the idea, of course, is you actually want the Dreadnought guarding the Devastator Marines, and the Seer Council have a little bit of a harder time. But I think, in the end, there are still many ways in which I think this is going to go in. Things are looking better for Kickin. Bright Lance already on the Guardian Weapon team to put pressure on the Dreadnought. Big victory point advantage still for Kickin. Seer Council also makes me wonder about upgrades for the Warlock. None whatsoever at the moment, which at the moment isn't too bad. I would not mind seeing channeling runes just to make use that to provide healing over time to the Seer Council, and that's would again be incredibly difficult for Val.Hero. Would allow them to kind of tank through getting hit by the specials from the Force Commander when he uses Battle Cry. So much damage though against the Dreadnought as well. I mean, between a Fire Prism and the Bright Lance, there's just a lot of damage. It's so hard for Dark.Hero to do anything right now. Trying to get this capture to slow the bleeding, intermittently turning the energy shield on as soon as he gets some energy to do so. Fire Prism there, I think, actually missing the scouts, in part because I think it was set up into Focus Beam rather than Dispersed. Fire Prism has 2 firing modes, Focused and Dispersed. Focused for dealing maximum damage to vehicles. Yeah, that's the Focus Beam. Dispersed is for AoE control on infantry. Does less damage, but again, it's AoE. Or I should say, does less single target damage. Meanwhile, infiltration coming from, I believe, the Rangers, not the Webway Gate. Hollow Field from the Rangers gives infiltration in an area. Force Commander here needs Battle Cry, or he literally dies here. Okay, Battle Cry goes in. He needs to get out at the same time. Like, there's so much health on these Banshees, and I think yeah, like he still has Battle Cry active, so he's still getting this disruption. Like, the Dreadnought, okay, he does manage to force the retreat. Dreadnought's now going to go in to try to get maybe some melee hits on these units. So that's definitely the purpose of the Thunderhammer, which it's serving its purpose, but Dark.Hero actually coming out with the double Dreadnought. I didn't even see that double Dreadnought until just now. It's certainly a lot of armor, and we're now going to see the Multi-Melta. It's just that the Dreadnought needs to get so close. Now, to be fair to him, there is no snare for Kickin. Kickin's going to go for another Guardian Weapon team, which is rather interesting. I would personally almost kind of like to see him go for Warp Spiders, just because I think that goes a long way to, even just for the Haywire, because if the Multi-Melta Dreadnought is approaching, somehow manages to get in range of the Fire Prism, Haywire saves it and even threatens to kill the Dreadnought. So at this point, Dark.Hero, he's got so little time that this is basically a YOLO approach. Oh my god, the lead scout model is knocked off, delays him from capturing that point. Eventually the Fire Prism, though. The Dreadnought, it's actually... Oh, I was going to say, it looked like it was about to get in range of the Fire Prism. But I think now Kickin actually struggling a little bit with setting up his units correctly. The lead, Bright Lance, not quite set up. The back one set up backwards. It would actually be in range, and I think would even have line of sight on this Dreadnought. Dark.Hero is trying to stay in this game. Grenade, though, is going to result in the wipe on these scouts. They'll be cleaned up by the Howling Banshees. And Dark.Hero bought some time, but losing the scout squad, I would almost even say that he lost more than he gained. Like, he'll get the victory points for a few moments, but I don't think he can reasonably hold it. He's got half hit points on both of his Dreadnoughts, only 2 scout squads now. Kickin playing very slow at this time, though.
Research underway.
We have the Guardians not even reinforcing. Of course, I momentarily kind of potatoed and realized that this, and just realized this is not a Falcon, so he can't reinforce here. He needs to retreat if he wants to reinforce these. Probably has no intention of reinforcing the Guardian weapons teams. You really get more or less full functionality, even just with 3 out of 4 models. Of course, does make it a little riskier, because they're going to be a little bit more vulnerable if they are jumped on, or if they are hit by something like an Assault Cannon Barrage. It is mind-blowing to me that Dark.Hero is even still remotely in this game. Okay, scouts will hit these guardians that I feel like I was gonna say felt like Kickin might be dropping his micro there again. And I guess with Kickin, he goes for, there are definitely some arguments against getting the warp spiders, like I suggested earlier. They will get shredded by the assault cannon dreadnought. They'll actually get hit pretty hard by the sniper scouts too, although there's only one of those left. And then the double Bright Lance just makes it, it's just overwhelming damage against, the dreadnoughts. And that's why we see these dreadnoughts are actually, they're playing so cautiously, waiting until they really have like all of their hit points before Dark.Hero commits to anything. Dark.Hero doesn't even have his natural victory point now, can't get it. Warp Throw does not pull anything but scares Dark.Hero into retreating his scouts. And now we have a dreadnought that's not at full hit points and is not getting repairs. So, but Kickin is going to tighten the noose here, get the Seer Council to take the contested victory point. Nothing Dark.Hero can do about that, and then even if he starts capturing his natural, he's going to be down a victory point, and it'll be ticking against him. He's going to try to do something about this, and he's an absolute madman for thinking that this can happen. Like, he should... There's no way the Dreadnought survives. It's not a chance. But I think just Dark.Hero is out of options. Like, look at how fast it went down. Just double Bright Lance, just so much. 45 armor-piercing DPS, and that's 2 of them. Oh god, Grenade there barely did anything. But we have double Bright Lance, which means 90 DPS. And we have the Fire Prism contributing as well. So that's 1 Dreadnought down. It's a 1-to-1 cap, but we see a dead Force Commander, and the Banshee's capturing the natural. So... Force Commander was repurchased, probably going to head to this natural victory point, but I think this game is over. Orbital Bombardment goes in. At this point, I think mostly just for fun. The Seer Council actually don't capture this point. They might get wiped by this Orbital Bombardment. I think Dark.Hero just wants... Oh, but he doesn't wipe the Seer Council. I think he might have been able to if he had actually moved. No, they actually had too many hit points, 95. Yeah, this is done. Victory points soon to be depleted for Dark.Hero, and Kickin will take another game in this series.
Is an invitation for its repetition.
Or his first game, even. Game number 3 is going to take place on Seraph Palace. Val.Hero this time going to be playing as the Plague Champion. Chaos ranged hero with a damage over time bolter. Can heal, can repair, can build shrines. Actually, technically he doesn't build the shrines. And can get melee weapons. His opponent, Kickin, this time he will be playing as the Force Commander. This tanky melee hero that buffs and disrupts with Battlecry. So then... Plague Champion for Dark.Hero. I actually personally see this as a signature hero for Dark.Hero. I've definitely seen him do well with this hero in the past. Of course, in practice, many of these players play like almost every hero in the game. But, of course, the players had to choose 5 to play with in the Elite League, so Dark.Hero did choose this as one of his heroes. We're going to see how he does with it. I think he's going to go double Chaos Space Marines. He's actually saving up the requisition, not putting down a node, not getting a second Heretic Squad. So I think he goes double Chaos Space Marine here. Kickin, meanwhile... Oh, where's the second Scout? Don't see second Scout out of him. There's double Chaos Space Marine. I've often talked about double Chaos Space Marine a bit in the past. Typically less common to see double Chaos Space Marine than double ranged unit for many other races because of kind of the expense of the Chaos Space Marines at 400 requisition, especially for their performance in Tier 1. Chaos Space Marines doing slightly on the lower end of DPS, lower than, say, Guardians, lower than Tactical Marines, lower than Shootas. They're tanky, of course, which, you know, still makes them good, but it's just more about understanding their place where double Chaos Space Marine is not the go-to for Chaos in 1v1 games. That being said, out of the Chaos Commanders, I've also often said that to the extent that double Chaos Space Marines is a thing in 1v1, I think the Plague Champion is the one to do it best. Because you already have the Plague Champion himself as a ranged unit, you also have Heretic Worship to provide sustain for the double Chaos Space Marines, except we don't see it here. What we will see is a Flamer getting the Tactical Marines out of the garrison, and now the Chaos Space Marines will get into melee, where they have higher melee DPS than the Tactical Marines, except for the fact that the Tactical Marines can load in Kraken Bolts, which for some reason makes them do more damage in melee too. One Chaos Space Marine model was killed in that fight, but all the support there from the other Chaos Space Marine as well as the Plague Champion does mean it is a fight win for Val.Hero. Unfortunately for him, he already is losing victory points, and he also gets a rather early upgrade on the Mucus Discharge. So self-sustain healing ability, can use it on himself as well as his own infantry. Very useful, especially given that healing and sustain is actually pretty rare in Dawn of War 2. Not every hero has it, just means you can keep your units out on the field for longer, can stave off model losses, which can help you a lot economically because you're paying less in requisition and power for reinforcements. Now, Kickin eventually does get the second Scout Squad. Second Scout Squad came a little bit late, though. He put down the generators first. I believe it was the 2 generators, and then got the second Scout Squad, which is rather interesting. I guess in some sense it can improve his economy in the sense that he's getting power income faster, but he could be given... in fact, very much has been giving up map control in other ways. Oh, it's because he wanted a Sniper Scout. Yes, because he wanted these upgrades. He got the Flamer as well as the Sniper Rifle. Sniper Rifle is a rather interesting one. I think the purpose of the Sniper Rifle is to whittle down the worshipping heretics from range. But at the moment, that's actually not even how Val.Hero is using it. It could also be a good adaptive use of the heretics to not have them sitting around worshipping, where they'll just be picked off by the Sniper Scouts. Instead, he's using them rather aggressively, which the Sniper Scouts are rather poor against. That being said, Force Commander going to go down, though. It's so close. Some upgrades here. Iron Halo yet again. I think he goes down. Yeah, man, that is rough for Kickin. That damage over time bolter from the Plague Champion, rather good for killing on retreat. Also, early armor upgrade for the Plague Champion as well. The Fetid armor, granting the Unholy Stench ability. Does piercing damage, and we see it being used right here, suppressing and doing damage over time to these Tactical Marines. Plague Champion even getting into melee to tie up the Tactical Marines with that, and they can't get away really because they're suppressed. They also can't fight back against the Chaos Space Marines who are putting damage in against them. So victory points are pretty even, but Val.Hero is moving up. This corner is actually hurting Kickin so much, and that's why we see the instant retreat. Just with the Chaos Space Marines getting into melee there. It's not a huge lead for Val.Hero yet, but certainly just the way he's been playing so far, it has been feeling like he's getting the better end of Kickin. So the Sniper Scouts, I feel like the value of the Sniper Scouts and the Chaos Space Marines, if the Chaos Space Marines do stay here, they will eventually lose a model. But ideally, he moves them back so that they don't lose a model, and then they can regenerate from the Heretic Worship. So Heretics, though, going to be used rather aggressively. We see a third Scout for a second Sniper Rifle, actually. I thought he was maybe going to get a shotgun purchase. Maybe a single shotgun, single Scout, single Heretic Squad, that is. Maybe shotgun really isn't that necessary. Force Commander also with that Power Sword and Iron Halo. And again, this is an interesting choice, getting both the Power Sword and the Iron... Actually, you know what? It's not as strange as Val.Hero's purchases from last game. Now, normally, you technically do kind of have the same issue that when you have the Power Sword, normally that means you want to use Battle Cry to get the benefit of the increased Battle Cry attack buffing, which competes with energy for the Iron Halo. But I would say with this build, I would say that's actually not the purpose. The purpose of this is actually just to give more energy for the Force Commander to get into range of the Chaos Space Marines. And then he actually doesn't really need Battlecry there. He just needs regular Power Sword attacks against the Chaos Space Marines. Talking about Chaos Space Marines, they took a lot of damage from the Sniper Scouts here. They're still taking damage, so one of those squads is going to get out of there, but the Tactical Marines got to go, and without them taking all that damage, Sniper Scout's actually in a huge amount of trouble, and they don't want to let these Noise Marines get too close. Noise Marines going to start not burning exactly, even though technically Noise Marines are mechanically a flamer-type weapon in the game. They're more going to vibrate and tear asunder these generators with their sonic blasters, and that's nearly the farm gone. I think it's going to be the full farm gone. Havocs are setting up, and they're not really being dealt with. The Tactical Marines can't do a thing here. These Scouts actually are the ones in a position to do a thing, but they go for, okay, I was going to say, they go for the grenade on the Havoc, which there was a bit of a juicy opportunity to possibly get a Chaos Space Marine wipe, but they needed to throw that grenade just to try to dislodge that Havoc off of the power farm. So this is the first real big advantage that Val.Hero has gotten. Also somewhere took out a Scout Squad, which I missed. But taking out the whole power farm, Kickin is actually ahead in tech, but a big part of that is Kickin went for a pretty cheap build. Even though he went pretty upgrade heavy, he still mostly purchased Scouts. Didn't get a tier 1.5 unit. And he put down generators a little bit earlier than I would have expected. Whereas Val.Hero went the double Chaos Space Marine. He delayed putting down his generators to get the double Chaos Space Marine, and then he also went double tier 1.5 here with the Havocs and the Noise Marines. So it's not surprising at all, actually, that Dark Hero was actually behind in tech. But what does this tech lead get Kickin? A P-Dev? I mean, you know, we could make an argument here that there are actually many ways in which the P-Dev could work very well. P-Dev does huge burst damage, great against just about everything that Val.Hero has, except for maybe the Plague Champion himself. But great against the Chaos Space Marines, great against the Havocs, great against the Noise Marines. So much burst damage that it could threaten to take out a model that before the Heretic healing or even the Plague Champion healing has the chance to heal through. Grenade goes in. It's a big miss. Nurgle, touch of Nurgle here is... Oh my god, this is actually not a good use of touch of Nurgle, really. He's going to use an Aspiring Champion just to keep them in here. My god, this is a ridiculous play. They're still going to lose this fight eventually. They still have to retreat. They finally get one touch of Nurgle explosion that actually does something. That's not my favorite use of red there. And now we don't have touch of Nurgle to use on these Heretics. They win the fight anyway. Uh-oh. Is that sound bug? Do we really have sound bug? Are you kidding me? Is this going to be the third Elite League series that's going to have sound bug? You have to be kidding me. Val.Hero asking which one? Like, shotgun? Oh, shotgun bug. I don't even... Okay. Shotgun bug, not sound bug. Like, sound bug, like, you have absolutely got to be kidding me if it was sound bug. Like, imagine my luck as well as the luck of the players if it had been sound bug. Imagine Relic not fixing a bug that's been in this game for like a literal decade. All right, double cap for Val.Hero. He actually doesn't have a lead in victory points anymore, but the game overall has certainly felt more in his favor than Kickin's. Kickin actually lost another Scout Squad. Now he's got Assault Marines. I mean, the Assault Marines are actually good against a lot of the things that Val.Hero has. They're good against double Chaos Space Marine. They're good against the Havoc. Oh, they're not so good against Corn Marines. He must have seen the Assault Marines. Or maybe even if he didn't. Like, I'm not actually that surprised that he went Corn Marines here.
If that victory point is lost,
Corn Marines just kind of have to avoid the Force Commander, but otherwise... Oh, and... Okay, the Assault Marines will get a Sergeant, so that will make things a little bit better against the Corn Marines. Corn Marines, though, like, if they find the P-Dev, they just eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Corn Marine's actually just going to guard. They're just going to guard the Noise Marines. Okay. P-Dev does knock over the Chaos Space Marines. But they'll just get back up and go back in. For the Emperor used on the Assault Marines does actually put the Heretic Squad in a huge amount of trouble, but not enough to kill them. I was going to say, will we see a jump in? But at this point, they're going to need to jump out. Otherwise, they're going to go down. They get out while they still have 4 models, because like if they chase much longer, they risk getting wiped by the Corn Marines on retreat. Corn Marines are... Oh, God. This is a kill. Ouch. Yeah, Corn Marines, I was going to say, I think they're a lovely unit. I love them a lot myself. I really enjoyed using them when I played more actively. Sometimes hard to make them work, hard to make them fit into your composition, especially since usually single Chaos Space Marine builds are more common. A double Chaos Space Marine build is one of the situations where Corn Marines are a little bit more viable. Havoc's going to be... Of course, the Force Commander has to go for the Havoc, but that also means that he actually leaves the Corn Marines open to actually just fighting him. And they'll tear him apart if he's not actually fighting directly against them. I feel like Val.Hero is actually winning this game really hard. He's just not capturing the victory points enough to actually end it sooner. P-Dev is doing things. No, it's not so much there. Oh, and that's just the concede. Yeah, that is game number 3 going in favor of Val.Hero. And he will take the series. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a good night.